My pleasure to introduce you to my colleagues and your speakers for today, Gaspard Pintrou and Yushi Zhao.
Hello everyone. So I'll do a simple introduction. My name is Yushi. I am the product marketing manager for Object Storage, and today I am with the PM and the VP of products at Scaleway, Gaspard, to introduce you Scaleway and also our product Object Storage. So today's agenda will be simple. Firstly, we're gonna introduce Scaleway for some of you who might not know Scaleway. And then we're gonna introduce the product Object Storage. And then Gaspard will introduce the use case features, and then we will host a live demo to show you, to demonstrate how to use these products. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about the technology behind the product. And in the end, we will have a little session about Q&A. So feel free to prepare your questions. Firstly, for people who don't know Scaleway, we are an European cloud provider with more than 20 years of infrastructure experience. We have three main pillars of products and services. Firstly is the private infrastructure, which is for data center colocation. And then we have the Scaleway Daily Box, which allows you to rent high-end dedicated servers, while partially is now integrated into Scaleway Elements, which is our main offer as public cloud. The company is actually growing very fast, and nowadays we have more than 400 passionate people working here to build the cloud infrastructure for you. And tomorrow we will grow even bigger. We have 6 availability zones across Europe. We have a full region in France, in Paris, and then we have 1 in Netherlands and 1 in Poland, which will soon be deployed into full region also in the near future. At Scaleway, we're building our products and services based on some key values, which is to build the public cloud ecosystem that are innovative, sovereign, and designed for developers. Here you can have a preview of all of our products. You see that we have mainly 6 blocks, from compute to storage to network, IoT, and AI, that covers all the needs for you to build your application on cloud. And we're also actively expanding our product lines. If you're following our news, we launched serverless in last November, which allows you to host your infrastructure across multiple cloud providers. That's what we aim to be like a fully multi-cloud cloud provider. If you're interested, you can actually find those replay of those webinars in our YouTube channel. So today we won't address too much on that. And we will focus on Scaleway Object Storage, which is built on a Scaleway self-designed technical stack and is deployed in multi-availability zones, which takes your redundancy, resiliency, and scalability to the next level. So first, what is object storage? Actually, object storage is designed to store very large volumes of unstructured data to be accessible anytime with a unique ID, instead of any complex hierarchical folder like file system or file storage. And it is very ideal to store a lot of static data like logs, backups, media or text files, or web pages. And it allows you to access all your content and data very easily at any time and very quickly. And all the data is called objects. That's why we have object storage. And it is stored in some container, which is called buckets. You will see all of that later on in a demo also. And then simply why you should choose Scaleway Object Storage. So firstly, it serves your needs, scalable needs when you need it for your application, for your business, because object storage is designed to store large amounts of data. When we say large amounts, we talk about hundreds of petabytes. So to do this, actually, object storage does not rely on a single machine, but a multiple interconnected machine. So when the demand increases, we also add standardized machines to ensure the scalability of your business. So you can scale up infinitely with object storage. And secondly, object storage is building, or especially Scaleway Object Storage, is built with some built-in resilience. So we ensure the durability of your data by storing objects on multiple disks on different machines and also in different data centers. It allows us to avoid any data loss in case of hardware failure or data center accident. For example, if part of your file is missing or corrupted, we can easily rebuild it, recover it from another healthy part of the cluster. And on the software side, we have also developed a robust and distributed solution to ensure that a customer cannot create a total unavailability of the platform. And in addition, we invest a lot of time and effort in the monitoring solutions, which allows us to be more proactive to monitor the health of the cluster. And then when we talk about object storage, it actually makes it very easy to manage your files and data, because object storage turns all the data into objects. So no matter which kind of content you're storing, whether it is videos, text, data, any kinds of data, it's stored in the same way. And it's only identified by their unique ID instead of any hierarchy systems. So it makes objects very easy to be retrieved, very quickly to be retrieved without knowing exactly where is it physical location. So it makes your management much more easier and much more scalable. And then we have actually standard interface and protocols. We choose the S3 protocols because it is massively used by the market, also by a lot of other third-party applications. And also enables you, our customers, to minimize the action that you need to move from another cloud to us. In terms of price, you're only charged for the storage you actually use, so you pay as you go. Your bill is very predictable. You can already calculate how much you're going to pay based on how much you would use. In terms of price and performance, we're actually 80% cheaper than our biggest competitors because we aim to build our service, include advanced options while still remaining extremely accessible and easy to use for startups. So our products are very easy to use for developers, whether through API or through our interface that you can use drag and drop, that you will see also later on in the live demo. So you will surely find the easiest way to manage your buckets and your objects. At the same time, we also have the world's first alternative to the AWS cold storage, the Glacier, that allows you to archive your data in a highly secure data bunker located actually 25 meters under Paris City. So our price is simple. You don't get charged by any operations request and so on. So your bill is very easy and predictable. Besides all of that, we are very proud to be one of the leading players in the European cloud market. All of our services are located within European Union. Currently, we have Paris region, Amsterdam region, and Warsaw region. So your data is stored in Europe and it's protected by European laws and GDPR. Last but not least, we don't lock you in with us. So you don't have to pay a huge amount of fortune when you leave our cloud infrastructures. We believe that you should have the choice to choose your own cloud. Then I'll hand over to Gaspard to introduce Scaleway Object Storage a little bit more.
Thanks, Yushi. So yes, I want to put some emphasis on what Yushi just said. So it's pretty important to understand that the object storage that we built at Scaleway is open by definition and the way it's built. We built our object storage now, I think it was 3 years ago, on a full and native S3 implementation. That means you can use any SDK available from the market, and it will be natively compatible with just a change of endpoint with our object storage solution. This is pretty important when you think about that, because that implies this product is multi-cloud by definition. If you're already using an S3 compatible cloud provider, you can easily split your data within 2 different cloud providers without changing your code, because we have chosen to embrace this standard. There are a lot of tools and of ways of consuming object storage. It could be via Terraform, it could be via API, it could be via the SDK. It could even be via CLI. We also have one of the most intuitive and easy to use web console. And by the way, this console is exactly what I'm going to do the demo about. And for you to know, our console, which is built by a dedicated team, not the storage team, is 100% built on the AWS S3 SDK. So the demonstration I'm going to do you, and when you're using the console on an everyday basis, it's actually been built on an SDK that you actually can also use. Another very important topic is that object storage, as you may already know, is the storage default for a cloud infrastructure. So object storage is at the center of any kind of infrastructure within Scaleway ecosystem. It means any single product in the ecosystem, a database, a serverless function, a container, an application developed on and that runs on an instance, can have access to the bucket. So it's very important to keep in mind that the Scaleway Object Storage is at the center of an ecosystem. At the same time, you have free egress and ingress from and to any Scaleway product within the same region. And in terms of ecosystem, I'm going to go through this later in the slides, but we will soon have a deeper integration, and for example, with serverless, so that you can push directly notifications when you receive an object, and when there's an object change in your object storage, it can trigger a serverless function. Not only it's integrated fully in ecosystem, but it also can be used as a standalone product. So this is a storage solution. As Yushi said, we currently have 3 different storage classes. One of the most unique that we have is the Glacier one. So that's a very cost-effective solution to store data that you do not wish to access frequently and that you do not care if it takes a couple of hours before retrieving it. And that's definitely one of the cases where this function can definitely, and this product can be used as a standalone value. So let's talk about the use case now. So as just explained, we have 3 different object classes. And except for AWS, we are the only one to have 3 different classes. We started 3 years ago with the standard classes. 2 years ago, we launched the Glacier class. And 2 months ago, we rebooted our object storage platform. So now we can offer 3 different classes. Our standard class is now multi-AZ by default. It means your data is safely split across 3 different AZ availability zones. This allows for a better disaster strength. At the same moment, we've added a new class, which is called the one zone infrequent access. The data is stored in a single zone, but the data is split into 3 different servers. And of course, we have our Glacier class, which is located in Paris in our DC4, data center 4. So it's a data bunker located 25 meters, underground. So it's the same class. Those are standards. We're talking about standards. This is exactly the same standard as AWS has stated 20 years ago when they created object storage. And we're the only one to provide 3 different classes to our clients. So in terms of use case, one may think about object storage as the de facto storage solution in a cloud infrastructure. Object storage totally abstracts the infrastructure to the clients. As a client of object storage, you don't have to care about how many servers are used, what is the operating system running on the server, are the storage media such as HDD and SSD used, do we have, you don't need to care about replacing HDD and so forth and so on. As Yushi said as well, you pay per what you consume. So the more storage you put, the more you pay, of course. And if you remove all your storage, you won't pay anything more. So those 3 pillars are quite important because they are the definition of a serverless product. So object storage is definitely part of an ecosystem. And even though it was created like I think it was 2005 by Amazon Web Services, at a moment where the paradigm of serverless didn't exist. This close to 20 years old product is a serverless product by nature. In terms of use case, the use cases are infinite. Any single application at a moment in time will have to store data in an unstructured way. Unpredictably, you potentially don't know how much data you will need. So you can continue storing seamlessly content. So you can use object storage to store big data and big amount of data that you need to train your calculation models. At the same time, one of the most obvious use case is I want to launch a video sharing platform, but I can't know how much my clients will use this platform to store content. So you're going to be using object storage and potentially a content delivery network to actually as an infrastructure for your application. Of course, when we're talking about storage, we straightforwardly think about backups. So we have a lot of customers that actually use object storage as the backend solution for their SaaS backup solution. Inside a cloud architecture, you usually also have to store your logs of your application. So object storage is also a solution to store your logs. And last but not least, you usually and sometimes have archiving issues. So with our 3 different storage class, with our lifecycle implementation, this makes object storage a perfect tool to achieve archiving. And I see already a lot of questions. So this is a non-exhaustive list of features that we currently support on our object storage. I put some emphasis on some of them, which makes us, I believe, unique in the market. So the first one is the multi-AZ that we launched in our French region 2 months ago. It's pretty important, as Yushi said, to keep in mind that Scaleway is the first cloud provider to have a full region. A full region means 3 different availability zones inside the same region. So object storage is the first product to benefit from being a full region by splitting the data, and I will come about how it's done in a couple of slides, into the 3 different zones. So we are the first European provider to have the Glacier class, which is 5 times less expensive than the infrequent access one. We have bucket lifecycle, pretty important, to seamlessly and let the infrastructure handle your data. If you want, for instance, anything that's greater than 6 months old will go to a Glacier class because you know that you don't have to have a quick access to them. It can be automatically and seamlessly done by the infrastructure. A demonstration that I walk you through is Bucket website. You will realize that you can seamlessly and very easily use object storage as a backend for a simple or not so simple website that you can deliver to your clients. Bucket policy is an important topic. We have implemented bucket policy so that you can safely manage the rights and the access management to your different objects and buckets. Object locks, when it comes to sovereignty, you can apply object lock to decide if you want this bucket or this object to never be erased by anyone. So this is usually the case in different archive process. So you will potentially notice the small hourglass, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the topics the development team is currently working on because we believe those features are the one needed by you and our clients. So the first one, as I spoiled a little bit earlier, is the bucket notification. So creating the link between object storage and our serverless function offer. Second one, which is very highly demanding, is the capacity. It's called bucket replication. So it's the capacity to copy different objects across different regions. We are also heavily working on improving our logging and monitoring solution and the integration within object storage so that you can have a standardized way to look at your logs and monitor the usage of your storage. Last but not least, and potentially the most challenging, is server-side encryption. We have some demand about improving the security from a client perspective. So we already, of course, support client-side encryption, but we are also working on a server-side encryption. So now it's demo time. So now is the time to share my screen. So a couple of seconds. So I'm going to do 2 quick demonstration about object storage, and I'm going to focus on the console. So I guess you all can see the screen now. So it's important to keep in mind. So first off, this console, one more time, 100% developed using AWS S3 SDK for JavaScript. This console is not what you are going to use on a daily basis to actually interact with object storage. Object storage is usually very automated. So it will be natively integrated within your application, and the odds are you're not going to use it a lot via the console. Still, I want to put the emphasis on the console right now because it's definitely better for a demonstration to look at this. So very quickly, let's click on this bucket. I want to show you. You can see the screen, right? So I want to show you how we can actually interact with the different objects. So you can see here, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different objects. You can easily check the storage class. If it's a standard class, that means this object is safely split within 3 different availability zones. If it's one zone here, it means this object is safely split within 3 different racks inside the same availability zone. And I don't see any glacier object right there. We'll go in another bucket. So you can see that you can interact with your objects. You can actually send the object to Glacier, meaning that you want to change the class so that you will be charged less for the same object. So I want to send this object, which is, so we're in the FRPAR region. So in DC5, this object is located in DC5. I'm going to lively send it to our data center in Paris, which is DC4. So I'm going to edit, and it's going to be sent to Glacier. And you see that now it's actually the location has been changed, and it's actually now in our data bunker, and the pricing has been updated and is going to change. I've got a small button here when an object is in Glacier, so that I can actually restore it. You can see that any object I can download it. This is the arrow here. Of course, when an object is in Glacier, I cannot download it. I need to restore it before I can download it. So restoration of an object can take up to 6 hours. What else can I show you now? I'm going to talk to you about bucket website. So last week I created one bucket. Which one was that? Scaleway Doc. And basically, of course, it's not empty. And basically, I sent a whole bunch of different HTML files inside and folders inside this bucket. So for you to understand, there's no notion of folder in object storage. This is all done via prefix, but as far as user interface is concerned, we just you see them as folders. But this folder does not exist in object storage. So I'm going to go in bucket settings, and I'm going to see that bucket website has been activated. So bucket website is pretty simple. You activate bucket website. You define which object is your index, which object is your error document, and safely you will see that you have access to a full website, 100% handled and located inside object storage. The example I took is quite striking. I could have taken a very simple website. Basically, you can see that this is our documentation website that currently hosted on my bucket. So you can see the address here. So I can click anywhere, and I have access to the documentation. Believe me or not, this is exactly how we do in production for our documentation website. We are using Bucket website to actually serve our documentation website to our clients. So whatever we are delivering to you, we are also using it internally because we believe this product is strong and can deliver a lot of value for our customers. Let's get back to the presentation. And I can see that we have a lot of questions that we will be pretty glad to answer after this. So let's take a deeper dive into how the product works. So object storage is a different paradigm as a traditional file system. Basically, every object contains a unique ID. It contains, of course, the data inside, and you have metadata. Metadata is when it was created, the different access lists, the file type potentially, and all of different metadata that you can add. And last but not least, you have the bucket. The bucket is like, let's say, a virtual container where your data is stored. A bucket is not a folder because a folder does not exist inside object storage. So what I showed you previously, and you could see a folder representation, is the fact that we support prefix, and prefix is visually identified as a directory. So let's talk about how we store the data. So you're potentially familiar with RAID when it comes to data duplication. Unfortunately, RAID doesn't apply to object storage or big servers as the one we're using for petabytes of data. So we're using something that's quite famous, which is called eraser coding, and we're using the 6+3 eraser coding. Every single time you send a file, an object to us. So it's the yellow part over there. We split your data into 6, we call them chunks. Those 6 chunks are your data. We calculate, and those are the 3 red on the right, we calculate 3 parity chunks. 6 chunks, which are the original data, plus 3 that are the parity data. So this is what we call 6+3. What does that mean? That means if we lose we can lose up to 3 different chunks of data. Those 3 can be the 3 parity ones, or even 3 storage data. We can always rebuild the data. That means whenever you're sending us 1 megabyte of data, we store 15 megabytes worth of data, so that we can, in case of hard drive failures, and God knows it happens, in case of any issue, we can rebuild the content. So what we're doing when we are doing multi-AZ is that we split the data into 3 different AZ, meaning we split the 9 chunks into 3 different AZ, 3 in AZ number 1, 3 in AZ number 2, and 3 in AZ number 3. When we're doing infrequent access, and what we used to do before, we split those 3 chunks of data into 3 different physical servers. And this is what it was about. So you can see that for infrequent on the left, we store the data, the 9 chunks, into 3 different racks, meaning that if we lose a rack, we still have 6 chunks to recreate the data so that it's still accessible to you. And a more complex one, when we're doing multi-AZ, we do the exact same thing, but it's 3 racks that are located in 3 different availability zones, meaning that we can survive a dinosaur attack, a terrorist attack, an earthquake that brings an availability zone down, and your data will still be accessible and available. So I wanted this webinar to be a lot about interactions in between you guys and us. So unfortunately, it's not so COVID and lockdown. So we're starting to do live events. So by summer, I guess we'll throw out some live events in our office in Paris. But I want to use this time to definitely answer all of your questions. So should we go to the chat? No, we should go to questions. So order by date. So I'm going to start with Ludovic question. So which technology is actually used behind object storage? Okay, over there. Minio clusters. No. Where our object storage that was rebooted 2 months ago is 100% based on open source and on our stacks. We developed a full new backend, a key value data store to actually handle one of the biggest limitation that we had on our backend. So in between 2019, when the product was created, and January 2022, we had a kind of non-limitation that if you reach a figure greater than 500,000 objects inside your bucket, you will start to see slowness and limitations. So ever since summer 2020, we've been working on an updated backend, which is called internally Hive, and you can find a lot of information about this backend in our different blog posts. So that you can actually store theoretically an unlimited, so we're talking hundreds of millions of objects inside the same bucket. And this was 100% homemade by the team. All right, so I think I should start from the bottom. Yep, okay. What is the minimum storage size in order to use this solution? I'm afraid, Laurent, I don't understand the question. So an object can definitely be any size, a couple of bytes there's a maximum size for an object, which is the standard for object storage. I don't know on top of my head the exact figure for the maximum. I think it's 5 gigabytes per object maximum. But then we support multi-part upload, so the object can be split into different parts based on the tool you're going to use to upload content inside object storage. So Laurent, potentially you want to add more color to your question because I don't understand minimum storage size. So Alexandre, we only pay for a stored data volume, no fees for incoming, outgoing traffic, right? So you're not. So Yushi already answered. So you're not. You're charged for the data that's being stored, and for the outgoing transfers. Outgoing transfers are free of charge when it's data running in between different Scaleway products inside the same region. And of course, as Yushi mentions, we have a quite aggressive free tier. So in order for you to test our storage solution, you can definitely test it for free because we have 75 gigabytes of free egress and of free storage. Ludovic, only new buckets seem to be multi-AZ compatible. What about old buckets? Is there something we can do to migrate them to multi-AZ? Ludovic, that's actually a pretty clever question. Yes, only new buckets, so the one created after February 2022, are eligible to this new backend. And the data, when you put a standard object, it will be multi-AZ. Is there something? What about all buckets? All buckets are using the old infrastructure and are single AZ. We are working on a potential solution, and I insist on potential because migrating data ourselves is very tricky. But in the meantime, we have created a tutorial with our documentation team to explain you how to migrate and synchronize two different buckets so that you can safely transfer data from your old bucket to a new bucket. Jan, what is the benefit of having the glassy storage 20 meters below surface? Safety first. So DC4 is our data center inside Paris in the 50s in Paris. It's actually a data bunker. So that's the reason we purchased it a couple of years ago. And we thought, as far as glassy is concerned, that that's a huge benefit for our customer to actually know their data is safely stored 25 meters underground. Papa Charlie. Can this storage be mounted locally like a network file system Samba exports transparently, just like a file system? Yes, but I do believe it comes with some constraints. The main one that I'm aware of are they are not very effective in terms of performance. So there are file systems that can be mounted on S3. The most popular one, I think, is S3F file system, S3FS. So you can use it, but still you will potentially have concerns with slowness and performance. Reynolds, what about using object storage for static website hosting? So I think I answered that question with the demonstration. Yes, we do support Bucket website so that you can use object storage to host a static website. And with 75 gigabytes of free storage, you can do a pretty decent website for free. Sorry. François, what level of performances are expected with S3FS and small files? Not the best. It's then up to you to define if your application, if your use case, if the performance are suitable. This is not up to our backend. This is not because of the backend, but because of the usage of a file system on top of object storage. It's not, globally speaking, object storage was not built for that. It works, but it comes with some constraints. A lot of questions. Please make font bigger in browser demo. Agreed. Mr. First name, last name, or Mrs. Ludovic, so I think we answered that one. Nicola Trangossi, why write performance is lower than OVH or AWS? So I don't know that for a fact. When it comes to performance, it's really important to make sure we're talking about which region are we talking about. Is it consistent performance discrepancies between us and our competition? So right performances. Is there an ongoing non-incident? We are working on the second big thing we will do in 2022 and likely by the end of 2022 is improving one of the last bottleneck we have on our backend, which is the gateway. That will trigger updated and definitely improve performances. We do believe our performances is most of the time, I insist on most of the time, on par. But we have room for improvements, and we're definitely going that way. Hope that answers. Usama, how does this compare to a Ceph cluster? So Ceph can be used as a backend for object storage, but I'm not aware of. So we're talking about very technical stuff here. For instance, we're using Ceph for block. Our block offer in our YAS ecosystem, for instance, is based on Ceph, which is very reliable for block and very consistent and very powerful. As far as object storage is concerned, this is not the path we chose, mainly because when you're using in an infinite growing, so we're talking about tens, if not hundreds of petabytes, size matters here, and safe was not the option that we chose when we built object storage in 2019. So we believe our solution is more suitable than Ceph for a public cloud offer. Laurent. So if I want to start using the solution and do experimentation, can I start with some gigabyte of data, or should I start with hundreds of gigabytes? Laurent, up to you. So if you want to have a free bill, start with tens of gigabytes, give it a test, join our Slack community, read our tutorials, check the tools, and you will be able to check for free if performance-wise, function-wise, this product is suitable. There's, to me, no, I don't see why you would want to start with hundreds of gigabytes unless your use case involves hundreds of gigabytes, but you can definitely start small if you want to start small. So I think that was related to a previous question. Thanks, Laurent, for clearing this out. Aurélien, for multi-part, do you have an API to manage part in failed upload? So our API is I mean, definitely, it's not our API. It's S3. I do think S3, and I do even think we have a tutorial explaining how to clean and to manage your failed upload, and this is supported by the S3 API. Yes, it's not straightforward, but it's now documented within Scaleway. It's been for a couple of years now because we recognize that we have a lot of questions from our clients. Everyone has to understand that when you're using a tool to actually send the data to object storage, the tool can fail. Your internet connection can break. And usually when you start a transfer and you don't complete it, the tools usually start from scratch. And you have that kind of failed uploads parts, multi-parts that are present in your object storage, but if you don't seek out for them, you don't obviously find them. So there are ways with the S3 API to actually list them and delete them. You can also use Lifecycle to automate the deletion of ghost multi-part or failed upload multi-parts. So let's get back to the chat. More on Hive. Yes, you've got the paper actually located in our object storage to learn about how the backend was built. So this is an engineering paper. If you want to learn more about how the approach we took with Raft clusters, for instance. I'm interested in to doc to migrate data from old if we have it. Yoshi answered. AirCloud to mount S3 as well. Yes. Alrighty. I can see two more questions. One more question. So can we store log from Scaleway Kubernetes capsule? Is there any documentation on or tutorials? S3 can be used to store anything. As far as capsule is concerned, this is so if you want to store the logs from capsule, this is a currently work in progress. This is not linked to object storage. So this is part of the 6 to 10 new products we're going to ship by the end of the summer that integrates a better logging solution for mostly not only capsule, but all of our products including object storage. And of course, that will there will be stored on our object storage. Ludovic, sometimes when I delete a bucket, there is an object which remains. I'm not able to delete it, whether via API or console, and the only way I get rid is to file it together. Is it something you're aware and will be worked on? That's not something that I'm aware, Ludovic. So that's something we'll definitely check with the team. It's potential. It's not that because I'm not aware that it's not taken care of. Just to be clear, it's not something that I'm personally aware. I can see quite some reasons why this could happen somehow. I would be pretty interested, Ludovic, to see how reproducible. And because you and you say sometimes, but sometimes mean a couple of times you've experienced it already. So I'll go and check with the team to see if there's a solution for that, an identified solution for that. All right. So I definitely hope this was of interest to you. I definitely wish we could all network and chat live afterwards, because usually even better question comes after the webinar. So we've got your email, you've got the details. You can definitely contact us via our community to get more information or let us know. So we have if there are features, functions, products that you're willing to see inside the Scaleway ecosystem that are missing right now or not acting as you would expect, we have the feature requests. So this is the website where our clients or non-clients can actually fill in a feature request explaining, I would like to see this feature or this product in Scaleway ecosystem to answer my need. And this website and this database is heavily used by our product managers to get in touch with you guys and actually understand your need to make sure we can answer this need with tremendous products. So potentially we can throw the feature request link here. Here we go. And this is pretty useful because you can find like a lot of information about the products that we're going to do and the feature we're working on. All right. Yushi, Neira, I think this is a wrap.
Yep, that's a wrap from our part. Thank you, Gaspar and Yushi, for this great presentation and for answering all the questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you found the presentation useful. As we mentioned in the beginning, you will receive the recording of the webinar with some additional resources very shortly. We hope you enjoyed the presentation, and we hope to hear from you soon. We wish you a wonderful day. Goodbye.